Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I want to make a video about an experience I had today. Another one. So previously, like within I think a week, I've had an incident with my dogs being at, I live in a small town and there's like a fairgrounds where people always go to take their dogs. And you know, you play sports there, there's a baseball diamond. And so I recently had an issue with this big ass dog charging at my two dogs, and thank God there was someone else's dog, but on the other side of a fence, so like no one got hurt, but it distracted that big dog. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I reported that to the local town page and I got a lot of support. And so it happened again today where this guy is there. He's got 3 dogs, large dogs, like at least 100 pounds, if not more, give or take, I say. They're large dogs. Like, I think they weighed at least as much. Oh, maybe not as much as me. But it's hard to tell. But like, I know I had a dog that was about 80 pounds and I could lift them into the tub. But these dogs are bigger than that. So at least 100 pounds. 3 of them. Now, I wasn't really paying attention until all of a sudden I look up and I saw them. And then I'm like, oh, fuck. And they're all off leash. And so I was like, I'm out. And I started walking away. And then I could hear him calling them. But he's trying to like sound like he's calm, but he's not. And then all of a sudden I look behind and these dogs are right on our ass, right behind us, coming up behind us, like charging at us. And yeah, you know, circling us. And to be honest, yeah, I think they do want to play. But the thing is like, I have like, they're sitting right here, you can't see them, but like my dogs are 15 pounds, you know, 20 pounds on a good day. And I've got 2 of them on a leash and they're freaking out. My one dog she's more social. And she actually, instead of like, you know, barking, she actually went up to try to smell one. I'm like, that's cool. But this guy, Tucker, you can't see him. He was freaking out. He wasn't having it. And I get it, because you know what? These dogs, like, I don't know that dogs can tell the size of other dogs. From what I understand, it's the energy of the dog. I don't know how true that is. But to me, like when I see like a big ass thing coming at me, bowling at me, like I'm gonna freak out. Because the thing is, it's not like an introduction done. It's like these dogs just charge over and like they're already in our space. There's no introduction. They don't, you know, there's no like, hey, are you interested in like playing? It's nothing. We have no choice. The choice has been made by the dog owner, who has chosen to have his dogs off leash because he wants them to run free. And there's no consideration to other people in the park. Now, when he, instead, like, so what happened is these dogs, the one large one kept circling us. So finally he got too close and my dog fucking bit his back leg, right? And I'm like, I'm like, my dog just bit your dog, dude. Like, just so you know, like, you can't have your dog. And so he came over and he's trying to get his dogs, like, there's 3 of them and he's got one on a leash that looks like it wants to be off leash and it's pulling, and he's trying to get these 2. And I'm giving him shit because, you know what, normally I just walk away, but I'm like, no, fuck this. I'm so over these people. And so I addressed him. And then I'm like, why are your dogs off leash? He's like, we're allowed to have our dogs off leash here. Like I guess the fair or town or the farm owners of the fairgrounds have given permission to people have their dogs off leash. And I'm like, that's the first time I've heard of that, because I've recently seen on the town site that like they're looking to put a dog park in town because there's nowhere that people can take their dogs off leash. So to me, that sounds off. And he's apologizing. And even when I saw like his dogs taking off towards mine, if this is known as a dog park and you have permission to have your dogs off leash, why do you care if your dogs are running over to mine? Because at a dog park, that's what you do. You let your dogs off leash, and that's the idea, where you just play together. So the fact that he knew already that that was an issue with his dogs charging at mine, and at dog parks, they usually have like small dogs sides and large dog sides. So I don't know that he's right. Now, there is a number there, and he's trying to say it's private property, but the private property says between midnight and 6 a.m. So I don't know if it feels like he's twisting words. And when I actually went to go look online in that same group, and I couldn't find anything that says any sort of like, yes, you're allowed to use the fairgrounds as an off-leash dog park. What I did find is a number of posts asking about where we should put a dog park in, if we should put one in. No one wants to do that. A lot of people do, some people don't. It's a waste of money. And I also told him, like, there's a schoolyard over there that has it's gated off, and it has signs like, I guess you can, I've seen people run their dogs over there, and it's enclosed. And so there's a dog sign about pick up your poop. So to me, I'm like, that's insinuating that you can have your dogs there, obviously not during school hours. And so I suggested that. He's like, we're not allowed to go there. And I'm like, well, it's gated off. Like, this is like, and I told him, like, from my understanding, like, a dog parks have to be closed off. And this private, he's saying the fairgrounds are private farmland. And so because they have the permission of the farmers who own the property, because it's private and it's not public, which is odd because it's in the middle of town. But maybe there, there's things I don't know. So like, maybe we don't pay for it. Maybe the farmers pay for that. That makes sense. They have a lot of farm, things happening there. So that would make sense. And like, if that's the case, I'm fine. But the thing is, when I did post last week on that same page that he claimed to have seen a post about permission to be off leash in that area, like nobody mentioned that because I mentioned my situation, and I mentioned at the first sentence was I was just at the fairgrounds with my dogs and this unleashed dog came charging at us. And so like I think a number of people, like 30 people, which for a group, I would think someone, like a lot, there's 7,800 people on this group, in this group. So like not one of them, like, and now not the posts don't show necessarily on your feed like as they're posted, because I know I'll get feeds that are a couple days late, and so it makes sense that not everyone's going to see it. But like out of like 30 people that commented on it, you got to think there's probably at least another 30 that saw it and just skipped by it, maybe more. And so nobody posted the fact that, hey, that's considered an off-leash dog park, so just a heads up, if you tend to take your dog there, this is what you're to expect. So like now I'm thinking, like there is a number there, but I've had a number of experiences within a small town that I'm just like, it just feels like there's just a very small amount of people that are not closed-minded and a lot of people that are. That's just what I'm experiencing. The majority of people, now I'm trying to get out of this sort of like what I would call like sort of prey energy. So I don't know if that's what's causing this, but I feel like I have some pretty good common sense. I like to be considerate of other people. I overthink usually about how to treat other people. And so at times I feel like if I have the potential to try to be over considerate instead of under considerate. And so I'm getting to the point where I'm just kind of getting sick of people not being considerate, period, at all. And so yeah, I gave this guy, I was like standing up to him, I wasn't going to take that. And then there's like he's like, look, there's a police, let's go ask them. And it's like police college unit. And this is just another kind of like, so we went over there because he'd put his dogs in his car, and I'm recording because I got his license plate, and they're not listening to him when, it's taken a while for him to get him in there. So he doesn't even have recall. It's just interest of where the dogs want to be. And so we walk over to the police college, and I knock on her window, and she's like, she doesn't have any information. She has, well, this is this, and maybe this is that, but she literally had, like, you're in the police, like, this is your area. I don't know, I guess I just thought, like, you're in, I don't know, like, you're literally sitting in a parking lot somewhere, and you just don't know anything about it. I don't know, that's kind of disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. And so she couldn't give any solid answers. She would kind of like, well, this is this, but then this is this, and this is that, and this is that. And so like he took that, of course, as he was right, and he might be, but it's interesting how like it didn't feel at any one point. It's like even though he was apologizing, and you could tell he felt uncomfortable with his dogs charging at my dogs, he still wanted to tell himself that he was right. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm wrong, if this is considered an off-leash dog park, and because I moved here like in 2019, I may not know. That could be, but like I said, I went to go look on the page. I couldn't find it there. I have posted a comment about that area, and nobody posted it there. So it's kind of like, and to be honest, I don't want to ruin it for everybody else by like being that person who's complaining about that. While they are ruining it for me, it just feels like, this is the problem, is when, like, if I do communicate to the fairgrounds about the situation, then potentially what happens is like, it's kind of like, well, we'll just shut it down for everybody, so no one can use it. And that's not what I want either. So instead, what I've decided is recognizing that there's always going to be people over there with their dogs off leash. They just don't care, right? And so I know that I can't handle my 2 dogs and protect them in those situations. So what I like to do, and it makes me feel unsafe because like I said, I don't know the intention of these dogs. until like they're over by us, and even then you don't know, because the thing is, I've had dogs for a long time, and like there's been situations where dogs can be friendly and then all of a sudden they turn. And so that's why I just don't need dogs around my dogs. Like, I'm good, like we got each other, we're good, that's enough. They got to each other, like they're playmates for each other. That's all we need. I don't need all these other dogs in our circle. Especially like if I knew them, it'd be different. If they took the time to walk with my dogs and take the time to let my dogs get to know their dogs, that would be totally different. But what I'm actually receiving is like a lot of people with their dogs off leash that are untrained, and while they will stay close to their owner and they may not leave the area, they don't have any recall. And so like that concerns me, because it feels like a real lack of boundaries with their dogs. And like, so what does that look like for my dogs? And especially because they're tiny, these dogs could be bouncing around and like take my dog out. And I have had that happen in the past when I had a puppy and I brought it over to visit the neighbor's dog, which was an adult dog. And of course they started getting to play, and then the dog stepped and like sprained my dog's little paw, right? So for me, like, that happened when I was younger, and it was wishful thinking, and it was a fun idea to think, oh, my dog could play with another dog and socialize. But like, the dogs are two different sizes. It's just a matter of time. Like, you know, that's why they have different sizes for dog parks. So instead, what I'm gonna do is I remove myself from, like, it's just an acknowledgement. It's, you know, that's always gonna happen. And so I think what I'm gonna do is, either if I am gonna go over there with my dogs, it's gonna be one at a time, so I can pick up my dog. And because I think that's going to be easier to get in front of my dog to block it from the other dog, or at least pick it up. And I think I'm going to actually focus on walking my dog on the sidewalk, because I feel like, see, I've come across dogs like that as well, but at least with that, there are more people that will put their dog on a leash when they're on the sidewalk. Now, the other, like, that way I also avoid people on the sidewalks like that too, because I've come across people who have dogs that are like not as heavy as them, but like they can't control that large dog when shit goes down. Like, they're fine to walk, but if something comes across, like a squirrel or another dog, they get triggered and like they can't handle it. So that scares me too. It's hard to like, you know, feel safe when I just want to walk my dogs. I'm just trying to walk my dogs. And that's all I want to do. And, you know, and I realize they have issues around other dogs, but it's also because like the dogs are coming into our lane. And so like, unfortunately, it just feels like nobody wants to figure out like what's going on here and do the work. So I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do the work with my dogs. And I think by walking them one-on-one, not only does that make me feel safer, having like being able to pick one up quickly, or at least, you know, shield my body in front of that one dog, if there's only one dog. But like, yeah, then I could also pick them up, which I know some people say that's not safe, but like, honestly, what my options are at this point, that's the best case scenario that I can figure it out. So I think, like I said, and that's going to give me more one-on-one time with the dog, so then I can work on training with them too. So I think that's going to be a positive in this negative situation, and it's going to remove me from the environments where people just feel entitled to this space and think that they deserve to let their dogs run free. Like, I could let my dogs run free there too, and I don't think they would take off. But like I said, my dog will bite your dog. So like, if we want to go off leash and we want to play that game too, like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't want my dog to bite other dogs. I know my dog is not socialized, and I know they don't have recall, you know? So while I could do what he's doing, I'm not going to, because like, I don't want my dog to bite somebody else, because it's not just big dogs out there either. There's little dogs, you know, and so if my dog were to bite a little dog, I'd feel really bad about that. So the fact that he's not considerate of how his big ass 3 fucking large dogs with one person isn't going to affect like other small dogs in this acceptable off-leash park, like where everyone's allowed to bring their dogs, like you're one person with 3 dogs and no recall. How did you think that was gonna, like, let's just say this is considered an off-leash park, like in fine print somewhere, or reading between the lines, whatever agreement you've stated is happening. Let's just say that's true. This guy is still one dog with 3 dogs that he doesn't know how to manage. So let's just say like let's just say I showed up without the leash. What are you going to do with your dogs when they come charging over at my dogs to play with them? Like, your dogs are fucking huge. Like, that's not safe either. So that's what I mean. It just feels like he was making a lot of excuses for his, you know, behavior. And so like, for me, like, even though my dogs are on leash, I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to work on maybe making my dogs even better. that's what I want to go with, because you know what, I go there because my dogs are triggered, and I think the more I work with them and more train with them, they're going to be more focused on me and less on other dogs, and I think that's going to be a benefit in the end. Well, I don't really have a lot of time right now to train my dogs because I'm trying to work on my finances. That's the unfortunate part. It feels like I've experienced this a lot from other people where they expect me to prioritize their comfort over mine, and I'm still dealing with a lot of stressful things at this time. And you know what? Honestly, it's just gonna strengthen me. It's disappointing that this is how society has become, where they require everyone else to kind of do the work for them. But at the same time, like, the benefit of this is I'm gonna have my trained dogs, and they're gonna be better, and I think they're gonna be like more focused, and it's gonna give me a better chance to connect with my dogs individually, instead of like us both going out like with the three of them all together. You know, like with me taking both of them out. The more training is going to give them more stimulation too. So I think that's going to help, because they do react a lot, obviously because there's large dogs out there, but it's also because I think they need to be more stimulated. So yeah, I think I'm going to add that onto my list, and I'm trying to exercise more. So I think that's going to help with that as well. And I'm not going to feel so overwhelmed in walking my dogs, because I do feel overwhelmed walking them. I'm usually pretty good until like something like that happens where it's off leash, and now I'm just like, what do I do? And it really, it sends me for a second. And you know what? I'm not mad about it, because like it's giving me a chance to, instead normally I would just try to get away and just leave the situation and kind of yell at a distance. And this time I didn't. My dog bit his dog, which I was glad, to get him to stay back. And then, I mean, I don't think he felt it because he was like at his hind quarter, but I don't really care if he did. And then I also gave that owner, you know, a piece of my mind in the way that, like, hey, this isn't just about you and your dogs. I should be able to show up with my dogs on a leash, whether this is off leash or not, and expect that your dogs aren't going to charge at mine, especially when they're such small dogs, you know? So yeah, that's what I'm coming up with. I'm recognizing, I don't know, I'm in a small town. I don't know that this is for me. I'm recognizing, not only with this situation, but just in the sort of, I've had another scenario happen where, you know, I was posting my business on that same local group. And because there's someone who came for me, and she was very passive aggressive about it, but definitely was targeting me because the way I could recognize it in her post. And so, you know, a couple people recognized where she was making something out of nothing, and then I got sick of that, because like I've never had anyone stand up for me before. And so like I had two women that actually like, and it's, I'm not like, I don't know that it's about me, you know. I think they're just like stating a point of this woman, how like what she was stating was an unfair vantage point, is that what you call it? Like an unfair perspective. And it felt like she was really demanding and like targeting. And so for me, I didn't like, you know, I was fine to be polite and explain myself, over explain myself, and leave it at that. But then she started coming after one of the girls that had stood up for me, and I can't tolerate that kind of shit. You know what? I can see her for what she is, but what I'm not going to do is let someone come for somebody who put themselves up in a public position, for whatever reason. It benefited me, and it was supporting what I was trying to do. And so I'm not just gonna like leave that unchecked. I'm gonna check that woman in a very truthful and open and blunt way. And you know what? My business post got removed. But it didn't get removed after her comments. It was like it got removed after my comments. And so I'm just kind of like, I really don't like that. And so I've recognized when I'm in an environment or a space or a group or a committee or something that can't back me but backs a predator. And while some people are bully, well, you can call her bully, but I mean, I'm sure she has some predatory, because she's looking for people. She doesn't do this to everybody. It's selective. So she's a predator. And when that kind of behavior goes unchecked, and let's just say, well, maybe the moderators took the post down because of her comment. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's when I came back and I called her out and I told her exactly who I saw and who she is, that's when it got closed out. And I just can't support that kind of stuff. And I went to go look at the moderators. I'm like, who are these people? And honestly, it's just two people that agreed to sign up for a group, don't really know what they're looking for, and just are volunteering their time for whatever reason, but at the same time, they hold a position of power over this group that it's like a communication, you know, group for a small town. There's 7,800 people in there. And so when you don't know what to look for and you shut down the wrong person, or you just decide like this feels blah 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 and shut it all down, it's kind of like that parent that says, you know, all of you just get along. Well, I can't get along with the bully. You know, that means I always have to give in. That means I always have to give up. That means I always have to make myself small so the bully can feel big. So that's what I relate that to. And so I can't rock with that. I don't do it in workplaces, and I don't do it in these rooms, and I don't need to promote my business in a space that is like that and run like that. And I kind of had an idea before I did it, but I wanted to, I don't like to put everyone under the same blanket, you know, just because we're in a small town and it's highly religious. I don't want to just say like there's you know, no good seeds out here. I don't believe that. But the problem is like, I don't know. I just don't, it's not a room I'm willing to fight for, you know? I'm not passionate about that group, that space. I'm more passionate about what I'm trying to build for my pages and my YouTube. And they offer every Wednesday to put your business out there. So to me, I thought that was like an open room, you know, kind of like open mic, but apparently not. Apparently, like, you can only promote your business if you're willing to sit there and tolerate the passive aggressive behavior from the members of the group. And I'm just not. I'm just not. So yeah. So that was a closed door. And normally I would feel like scared, even with that dude. Like, I'm feeling like, oh my God, how many people, like, apparently leashes are not required. There's a law about it, but apparently, like, it's selective, right? And so I'm feeling like I'm having a number of situations where I'm up against this, one after the other, and I'm getting good, I'm getting better. You know, I'm not feeling scared anymore. I kind of go into that, like, maybe I should move, because I don't know if I want to be in this small town. And I'm not saying I'm going to be here for a while. I'm going to be here for a little bit longer, but it just makes me wonder sometimes, because I'm like, I really don't want to be, it doesn't feel like me. You know, I don't want to feel like I have to make myself small to fit in. I've been doing that all my life. And so, like, small town, the honest truth is, like, they can be very close-minded. And a lot of people have stayed here for a long time, and they feel entitled to run things the way they believe they should be run. And so it just makes me wonder, like, well, I don't think I'm going to escape these individuals and these types, so they're everywhere. But it just makes me wonder. I think there are some arenas where it's highly congested with a bunch of closed-minded people, unfortunately, and it's just I don't know what the answer is for that yet. I know where I'm not gonna go. I don't know where I'm gonna go yet. Like, I know I'm gonna stay on, obviously, like, I've got social media platforms, and there's an algorithm there so people can find me there. But in the meantime, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, because, like, I'm coming up to a time where I have to put myself back into the work world in order to pay bills and not lose my house. And I really don't want to sell my house in order to not go back into that. So I'm going to have to take some time out to see what the decision is. And I'm opening this up because I think it's important to talk about this, because while I do play with cards and stuff like that, I don't live my life by the cards. I think it's fun, and I use it as like clients. Like, I don't have clients, so I figure, like, what's the energy? Let me, you know, read that room. And so yeah, I don't know what my next move is going to be. I don't like the idea of up and moving. I really don't. I'd rather have something a little bit more easy and effortless, because of after everything I've been through. It would be nice to have something easy like that. But I've got to support myself, and I really don't. The 9 to 5, it's like, it's factory work, being, you know, through a temp agency, which right away, it's almost like a permission to treat these people as dispensable. But it's a high turnover, so I got to keep looking. It's like kind of like something I keep in my back pocket if I have to, because I don't want to lose my house. So yeah. Like I said, like, in my experiences, time after time after time, I'm acknowledging, like, I'm building up a resilience to these individuals, and it's becoming less emotional and more of an expectation. Hi. So cute. He just looked up. He's so cute. Tucker is the cutest little cuddler. I don't know if I can move. I don't want to shifted too much. I'll do it later. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I haven't figured out yet. I'm sick of running, you know, so I don't want to run. But it's also good to know when you're in a room that is not receptive to change and growth. And I know, like, it's interesting because, like, you'll hear like things about towns. Oh, we love, this is such a great community. This is, and it can be, but unfortunately, like, it's really challenging when you've got all these sort of like I wouldn't say it's like filters, but it's more like restrictions, and it's just from people who just want to, like, they enjoy the system though it was because they benefited from it, you know. They like the system the way it was because they get to have their dog off leash. They don't have to do anything different. They don't have to do any work. They don't have to train their dog. It's just metaphor, but you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let me know if you've experienced this before. Don't get me wrong. I would love for dogs to run wild. I would love to see my dogs run wild. That's not what this is about. It's about, like, you know, we all have to live in a space and enjoy it. And so, like, when these dogs keep running over and invading my dog space, it's like, that's the problem. That's the bullying of it. It's like, you know what, you feel like you're more entitled to this space than I am. It's kind of gross. And I have been there before. No, not as bad. Not as bad. God, not as bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm recognizing these people, and the thing that I wrote to in response to this lady online is like, part of it was like, you know what, I know this, I'm educated, I'm qualified in this because I've been there, and I learned to recognize it within other people and also within myself. But in reality, like, I'd never been that far. And when I've been there in high school. In high school, I was there. This lady is like my age, maybe a bit younger. Like, I'm 47 this year. So she might be like 30 something, give or take. But it is still like, I don't know. I don't know. I often wonder, am I like the first person that's like saying something to these individuals? Is no one else saying this to people? And they're just like smoothing it over, avoiding them, not calling it out? Like, is it this? Sometimes it feels like that. Like, am I the only one calling this shit out? Because it feels like people are just accepting it. And then they just go home and like it's not that deep for them. But I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure this out because it's coming up to where if I have to go back to the 9 to 5, I can no longer tolerate the abuse. But at the same time, I'm not gonna sit there and, like, you know what? I'm not gonna sit there and take it. And then, like, that's the thing. That's the problem. I had this therapist who's like, you know, I was talking to her about going back into the 9 to 5, and she thought the issue was like my triggers, and I don't think she understood what triggers were, because I told her like triggers. I don't know if she understood that, because triggers are like something that sets you off emotionally, right? But triggers for one person is very different than someone crossing my boundaries. So, like, what may look like, when I stand up to a bully, they may get triggered, right? But that's because they're entitled, and they're crossing other people's lines, and I'm putting them back in their lane, right? But mine, when I go into work and I'm like, when I go to these jobs and I stand up for myself, then I'm being targeted, and that's what's triggering me, is because I'm calling out the abuse and whatever's happening, and the unsafe practices, the harassment, the favoritism, all that stuff. I'm calling that shit out, and as I call it out a number of times, like, I'm then getting targeted by the boss, by other workers, right? And so I'm not being triggered, I'm being targeted. So there's a difference there. Trigger or a target, right? And who's right and who's wrong? And I don't know if it's always about right or wrong, but it's like, hey, like, if you're doing something that is not considerate of other people, we need to look at that, right? And if you just want to keep making excuses and dance around it, that's the problem. Because you want to stay comfortable. I'm very uncomfortable. I've put myself in very uncomfortable positions in order to advocate for myself. These people are not doing that. They're just finding ways to blame and play victim and triggered. And so like, I don't know if I've been triggered or that's the reactive abuse. Like that's where it comes down to like, you know, labels and things like that. And for me, it's just like, okay, if I'm being emotionally unspun because of this situation, I have to learn where I can't do that every time. Even though this happens a lot, like, and I am sticking up for myself, I have to learn, like, there's no point investing in their delusion by allowing myself to go there. So I don't know if it's been triggered. I think I could be using the wrong term there when I talk about my triggers. It could be like reactive abuse, because like I said, I'm fine until these people come into my lane and want to take over my space, you know, and make me take over their workload. Is that triggered or is that reactional abuse? You tell me. So that's where I'm going to end it. And I'm going to give you a little Tucker here. Here he is. See, he curls up. I don't know if this is how he was in his, he always lays like this, all curled around. So I don't know if that's how he was in his mom's stomach, and like, because, you know, there's other puppies in there. So like, he likes to lay in this odd, maybe he needs a chiropractic adjustment. I don't know, but he really likes laying like this. And then what he also does is he'll curl his little head when he's like, he'll lay behind me and he'll put his little face right here and he'll lay. That's really cute. Peanut's over there. She needs a bath. I don't know if you can see it. Peanut. Peanut. There she is. Hi, girl. Hi. Yeah, my two little fur babies. So yeah. Anyways, hopefully this was helpful. Feel free to comment on what you like. Are you finding this happening a lot to you? What do you do when this happens? Like, I'm trying not to invest too much in it and acknowledge it's not that deep. And that now my expectation is to have this happen on an ongoing basis. Like, where before I thought, like, if I just did this and if I just did that, like, you know, this wouldn't be a situation. But I think it's just now it's like the expectation that this is going to be happening often, no matter what I'm doing. Because it's not necessarily when I put myself out there. I'm like literally just walking my dogs and I'm coming across entitled people. So it doesn't have to be like just because, you know, this is just, we're living amongst people. You don't have to be putting yourself out there, elevating any of it. You could just be living your life and just trying to be, you know, I just want to avoid, you know, I move, when I see these dogs and these aren't, like, I'm moving away. I don't want anything to do with that. Usually I'm pretty good at spotting it, but I didn't. So I do believe things happen for a reason. It's a good way for me, instead of getting frustrated, finding another way to do it and differently. And it might be better. It might be a better outcome for me and my dogs. Like I said, getting them training, and hopefully they'll get more stimulated, and that'll make them happier and more well-rounded as well. So, yeah, I don't know. You let me know. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you later. Take care. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your support.